Hello and welcome back as we go off to try and get Mordin. So as you can see, Normandy's docked up at Omega, and I've got Garrus and Zaid with me, and apparently Archangel has been reported as dead, and a nice alternative armour set for Garrus there with kind of fluorescent flourishes. Now I can't remember if Garrus has got some conversation to have on Omega. I'm pretty sure he does. But anyway, let's head off towards Omega. Now, unfortunately, I have forgotten that Garrus can't actually come on this mission with Mordin because the plague basically kills everyone apart from humans. So we will have to swap the crew. But before we do that, a little bit of shopping. And then we get to do a very fun little mission, which, as I say, involves recruiting Mordin to our crew, and it's quite a nice set of fights you can have. And on the higher difficulty levels, they are pretty tough. We do actually, if I remember correctly, come back to Omega at a later stage, depending on who we recruit to our crew. But pretty much I'll be done with Omega after I've got Mordin for a while. I can't remember if it's going to be in this video or in the next one where I start exploring probing the planets, which is one of the bits I didn't enjoy so much about Mass Effect 2. I actually preferred Mass Effect 1, dropping down onto the planet and driving around. I know that doesn't always sit with other people quite so comfortably. Anyway, let's interact with this guard here and persuade him to let us in, which will upset our human here who's trying to get in. And there's an interesting voice with this particular Taurian, sort of a New Yorky sort of vibe, if I remember correctly. Anyway, Garrus is looking particularly impressive in the background there, and we can have all sorts of chats about various bits and pieces, and eventually the guard will give way and let us in. And at that point we can then start shooting people in the face and exploring a rather grim tale of plague infection and paranoia. And there's some pretty cool audio logs to give you an idea of just how desperate things have been in here. And there's also a little bit of a story behind what's caused the plague, which we will uncover. And obviously humans being the only race not affected means that humanity gets the blame for causing the plague. Now, I'm not sure what happened with the camera just then. The Taurians seemed to be talking to us by looking into empty space, which was a little bit weird. Not so bad there where he turned away and then turned back, but yeah, some of the animations when you look at them closely can be a little bit odd, but Mass Effect 2 does a reasonable job. There's not too many really bad glitches. Anyway, looks like we're going to persuade him to let us inside. Now, I am trying to apply a Paragon, and as I say, been finding some of the Renegade options a bit too tempted recently, so I am a little bit worried I am veering towards a Renegade playthrough on this particular series of videos, so I'm going to have to try and make sure to correct that, which could give me a bit of a problem with the Zaid loyalty mission, which is what I'm planning on doing next. Because he really wants us to go down the Renegade route, and that's going to be an issue. Anyway, here's Garrus volunteering to come in and help out, but I don't want to risk losing Garrus, so we will swap him out for, I believe, Jacob, if I remember correctly. He's like, if you need me, I'll come. Sorry, Zaid and Jacob, that's what we're going with. That's my bad. So yes, gonna be an all-human party. Don't want to risk, as I say, killing off any crew at this point of time. Now with Mordin, he's a very interesting character who speaks at a million miles an hour, has obviously a little bit of a background, which we can uncover as we play through. And yeah, deliberately upgraded there to get the disruption shot, and no further updates really that I want to do. So we get dropped into the quarantine zone, and for some reason the AI is a little bit off here. They keep getting in my way. For example, they're going to block my route back out of here in a short while, which is real pain, and they take their while to get out of the way, and eventually they do. There you go. So yeah, that the game is not perfect. It does have the odd glitch. I don't remember it being quite so bad on the Xbox for some reason. Maybe it's because of the mouse and keyboard movement mechanic making me move in ways that are not signalling the AI quite right, but still got a little bit of screen twitchiness that's a little bit annoying on occasion. But yeah, I'm definitely enjoying playing Mass Effect 2 with the mouse and keyboard, whereas I tried Mass Effect 1 with the mouse and keyboard and just didn't get along with it. I really recommend the keyboard mod. And a little bit of long range sniping here. So off goes the biotics and then open fire, and they run into my biotics and just take them out pretty easily. Now there is a guy down here that you can have a chat to, and if you want to be a renegade you can basically let him die. If you want to be a paragon, obviously you can try and help him. So this Batarian here is suffering big time with the plague. He's obviously very distrustful of humans, but you can maybe turn him around. Now I was hoping in Mass Effect 3, being a paragon, all these aliens that you helped and everything, that it would feed into Mass Effect 3, and I believe they did make an effort at that in the actual game that came out. But the kind of war assets system was a little bit wonky and difficult to get your head around. And there obviously is the infamous ending to Mass Effect 3, which means I'm not really prepared to waste my time with Mass Effect 3. I had it on Xbox, I haven't bought it on the PC, I have no intention on buying it on the PC. I mean, if they finally release it for something like $5-10, I'd probably pick it up, because there are some really excellent moments in Mass Effect 3 that do make the game worth playing. It's just the last kind of 15 minutes, they just lose so much, and it's a great shame that Mass Effect 3 was kind of ruined with just 15 minutes of gameplay for a vast amount of people. Anyway, Mass Effect 2, I'm glad to say, despite my ranting about the opening sequence and some issues with some of the weird decisions during the game, actually is a pretty good game. And as I say, kind of when you get into the actual recruitment stage, it's a great fun set of stories, some really fun shooting, and a very enjoyable final mission as well. And that there are elements about it which I will probably be triggered by, but this is not one of them. This mission, very, very enjoyable, not really got any major complaints about it. The only maybe slight downside is the difficulty of some of the combats can be very variable. I've played this mission on occasion where I've just walked through it, and then other times I've played it and it's like, oh, I'm going to die here. Obviously with the lower difficulty level I'm playing through, the only things you really need to watch out for is getting suddenly pinned by multiple enemies and not being able to get into cover. But if you can get into cover, these missions on this lower level are pretty easy, to be honest. Anyway, got quite a lot of chatting going on here. I believe there's a room we're going to go check out off to the left and behind us, and then once we've done with that, we are going to start getting involved in quite a bit of shooting. And as I say, a lot of these missions are a really nice mix of shoot 'em up and the role playing side, but definitely quite a lot of shooty mechanics going on, and a lot of people really did prefer it to the Mass Effect 1 system of weapons and weapons upgrades and slight stat changes and all that. I actually did prefer the Mass Effect 1 model, and having to manage your shooting by, fire in, let it cool off, take a bit of cover, fire, let it cool off. But the tweaks work pretty well, and it does seem to be more popular with the general population, so they obviously were onto something there. Anyway, I think we're getting pretty close to the end of the conversation here with the Batarian, who's telling us a lot about how the Blue Suns controlled the area, the plague struck, the Vulture moved in, humans and Blue Suns causing all sorts of trouble for aliens with looting and locking people in and stuff like that. And as I say, if you actually bother to read the conversation, you'll see it's pretty grim set of circumstances where a lot of aliens have been just left to rot and die, and humans are sort of feeding off the despair of the infected aliens. So pretty grim, dark set of stories in Mass Effect 2, which I think is great because it's a very adult theme, dealt with a sort of, well, not quite tasteful, wouldn't be quite the right word, but dealt with a sensitive touch, shall we say. And there are also some very interesting little side comments from, depending on which particular companion you bring on missions, where they will comment on what's going on. Now I believe this particular room is an audio log of an alien who's basically denying he's got the plague, and of course subsequently dies from the plague. And the main reason for coming in here is for story, but I don't think there's anything you can particularly loot, if I remember correctly, in here. There might be just one item or something, but I seem to remember for some reason this being a very worthwhile room coming into beyond just the little audio logs. Oh yeah, maybe it's because you get to scan this guy, but yeah, I seem to remember there being more in this room last time I played it, so just maybe my mind playing tricks with me, but there are a load of audio logs where it tracks the slow demise of these people. So they get sealed in, they obviously are infected with the plague and die, and as I say, the big sadness is the guy denying that he's got anything wrong with him, but of course we know different. And yeah, as I say, if you really want to read up on all the dialogues and the journals, it is starting to get pretty grim for the galaxy. There are nefarious boardroom dealings, aliens, human factions, etc., all up to no good. And yeah, the Reapers are coming, and no one seems to really be ready for that. And of course, the main driver behind most of this game are the collectors, who are agents of the Reapers, and we get to fight them a bit later on, and that can be a pretty tough fight, as I say, again on the high difficulty levels. I'm assuming it's not going to be too bad on the difficulty level I'm playing, but the Zaid loyalty mission, I do know the giant robot, if you get caught by that in the open, it's going to end badly for you, because it rockets and heavy machine guns you to death. And even on this basic difficulty level, you just die so quickly, it's quite scary. Anyway, we're going to get into this room now. Is this the humans hiding out? We'll find out shortly. I think it is. So again, even though humans are immune to the plague, they are also suffering. So overall, just really not good. Oh no, this is the dead Batarian, isn't it? Yeah, there's another room a bit later on, I think I enter, with some humans hiding in it. And as I say, it's pretty sad here. He's been locked in, and it looks like he didn't actually have the plague, this particular guy. So yeah, that's nice. Anyway, very grim. Let's move on and start shooting people in the face, I think. So yes, we get some shooting coming up any moment now, and again, I've had some really fun battles here with having to use the cover and trying to get the guys when they are not quite in cover. Now, if I remember correctly, I do actually need to move forward a bit to use my powers. And yes, here you go. Launch the attack, and that starts waking them up. And what was I shooting at? Oh yeah, I think it was an explosive barrel I was trying to shoot there, just to get it ready for when things got a bit hectic. Anyway, I think I managed to catch all three of them there with the singularity, which is always good fun. And yeah, it's going quite well, this fight. I have had much tougher fights here. I think there are a couple of guys that I haven't spotted yet who might suddenly... Yeah, there's a guy come in. Just saw him briefly pop up. And oh, it's two of them in fact, so another bit of biotics to deal with him. And his friend has run away. And Jacob took care of him very nicely. Now, when you got the sound effects going, oh, another two. When you got the sound effects going, the singularity can be extremely noisy, I have to say. And again, I don't remember it being quite so unpleasantly loud and awkward on the Xbox, but maybe that's one of the advantages of the PCs. Now, I've come back here to get some ammo because, of course, with these thermal clips, it's very important to keep yourself topped up. And as I say, it's not a particular game enhancement I appreciate. And yes, I believe this is the room with the humans in, so let's go check it out. Where was I? Yes, some nice little effects I am noticing on the PC playthrough, with sometimes when you use your biotics and special power-ups, you get nice flaming bodies flying around. Now that does also happen on the Xbox. I assume it also happens on the PlayStation as well, because I believe this is the first Mass Effect game that was available on the PlayStation. As I say, I'm not sure if they ever released PS1 for PlayStation 3, but I've got a feeling it might be available on the PS4, but I wouldn't quote me on that. Anyway, yes, you come up here and there are some humans who also give you a nice little bit of conversation, and you can persuade them or not as you wish to go to the surgery where Mordin hangs out, because Mordin has very nicely moved into the area to try and work out what the plague is and how to create a cure for it. And basically we get a nice little introduction to the slightly crazy doctor fairly shortly. We, I think, have a little bit of a mini fight before we get to his surgery, but we're pretty much done with fighting our way in, if I remember correctly. And Mordin's then going to give us a little task, which is a much tougher fight, and when we've done that, hopefully we have recruited him to our crew. So yeah, there's quite a lot of dialogue to be missed if you choose not to bother unlocking some of these rooms. You can, you know, whiz through the game a lot quicker, but in my opinion you are then missing out on most of what makes Mass Effect good, because at the end of the day it's a really good role-playing game which is all about visiting locations, talking to people, gathering items, with some fun combat attached to it. But as I say, Mass Effect 2, where it amped up the shooting side, it made it a much more mass appeal game than Mass Effect 1, which was much more heavily RPG and maybe a bit more of an acquired taste. Anyway, character models here still looking pretty good. The eyes, the mouth to dialogue lip syncing is pretty good. Sometimes the lighting effect on the eyeball can be a bit wonky, but yeah, on the whole I think the game does hold up really well, as I've said many times before. Anyway, there's a big talk here about the Vorch and whether they're somehow involved in the virus. And of course most people are saying the Vultures are kind of scavengers, they're not organised, they're not intelligent enough. So of course humanity definitely getting the blame. And yeah, there's a definite hint that the Vulture are somehow involved in this chaos that's going on. And we will find out the truth of that before we're done with this video. So we've been told where to go, and we can choose whether or not to tell them to stay put, follow us, or whatever. I am going to tell them to try and come to the surgery, because that is going to be the safest spot for them. But you've got to be a little bit careful how you do that, because I think they can actually die if you're not careful. Because, you know, they can run into a Blue Sun's ambush or whatever. Anyway, what is interesting, they have a safe on the wall that has a load of money that I might be interested in. And even though you're a Paragon, apparently it's quite acceptable to go and steal it, which I think I give a go just to see if that works. And if I remember correctly, yes, you can pretty much steal their money right in front of them and they don't really kick off about it. Anyway, as you can see, they're moaning about going to the surgery is far too dangerous, we could get killed, and you can say don't trust, you know, trust, whatever. So I've told them, look, follow me, not too closely, you should be safe. And as I say, I can't remember, I think you are able to get them to the surgery without too much difficulty. Anyway, this dialogue is pretty much all over, so it's going to be pinch their money and make a move to the surgery time very shortly. Okay, so if we're lucky we'll meet you there, so get some Paragon points and money. Let's do a bit of looting right in front of them. So yeah, there you go, quick 4,000 credits and we're off. Now, as I say, I don't think we get too much more shooting. I think it's a pretty clear path to the surgery. There might be maybe one little mini fight we have to do. We will find out soon enough, no doubt. But Yeah, oh, get a little bit of an upgrade there. And yeah, no, that's it. We're done. We're straight to the surgery. So no more fighting. And oh, I lied. There is. Yes, I totally forgot about this room. So yeah, this is interesting. You've got the Vorcha who are grouped up with some Krogan who are pretty keen on taking out the Blue Suns. So yes, this again, I remember being a pretty tough fight on some of the high difficulty levels, but it's not too much of a challenge here. But there are a couple of Krogans who are a pain to deal with because, of course, they're heavily armoured and shielded, and you've got to strip that away before you can cheese them to death with the biotics, which occasionally do miss, which is very frustrating. If you don't get yourself positioned quite right, you don't get to trigger them. There are a couple of explosive barrels you can use, which always help make things a little bit easier. And as you can see, here's a blood pack trooper. He's a little bit tough to take down. You have to pour quite a lot of damage into him. Anyway, a nice curve shot there on the biotics, which is a nice little improvement over version 1. And who've we got here? Oh, another blood pack trooper. Anyway, we should have some Krogans turning up shortly, and as I say, they are a little bit more difficult to take down, but they're not too bad. But yeah, these troopers are quite heavily armoured, and interestingly enough, stripped away his armour as he leapt over the kind of barrier there straight into my biotic power. So a little bit of warp to strip away the armour, and hopefully, yeah, we should be able to rip him a new one now. And now he's got a shotgun, and yeah, you can do a fair bit of damage with those if you let him get too close. And what have we got? I think we got another 1 or 2 Krogan. I can't remember now. Definitely one more Krogan coming up who we get into a bit of a toe-to-toe fight. This is him moving across to the left, I think. Yep. So a little bit of warp power, strip his armour, and then reload and just pour bullets into him. And as you see, he's walking towards me with his shotgun, and yeah, we take him down. So yeah, I've found this fight to be a really tough one on some difficulty levels, but not too tricky. Strip my shields maybe a couple of times, but nothing major. Anyway, always good to come in and loot a little bit of stuff. You never know when that might come in useful for researching various upgrades that you need to make your crew survive. Anyway, we are now interrupting some human looters, which is rather interesting as we've been looting and we're about to be a paragon and tell them that looting is bad. So a little bit hypocritical of Shepard here. But yeah, you can choose to fight these guys or kill these guys as a renegade, if I remember correctly. And it's up to you. You know, if you're playing good cop or bad cop, you pays your money, you take your choice. So you can persuade them that they're doing bad things, or you can just like kill them and take their stuff. So that's up to you. They're obviously nefarious fellows. They've had a run-in with Mordin, if I remember correctly, and the gentleman on the right in particular was particularly naughty, and it's probably not a good idea for him to show his face too near to Mordin. But anyway, yeah, we, as I say, getting pretty close to Mordin, and as such, when we're done with him, we will get assigned a little mission, which is a very cool fight against the Vorcha, and you get a nice little chat with one of the kind of bosses, and you get to kind of muck around and do a couple of fun bits. And I really enjoy this mission. This is one of my favourite ones in the game, but I do remember it being a lot tougher because I used to play on higher difficulty levels, and I also remember really finding it frustrating dealing with some of the rocket troopers, of which there are a few on the Vorcha side. And the other mission I remember playing that was quite good fun but quite tough was the Zaid mission. So as I say, when we're done with this one, we will give that one a go. And I've just got to remember to try and be a paragon, but I got a horrible feeling that upset Zaid, which, you know, can be a problem for trying to get all your crew kind of fully loyal. And I'm trying to remember, I'm pretty sure I did get Zaid loyal once by, you know, doing the paragon route and upsetting him, and then somehow managing to gain his trust anyway. So hopefully I can remember how to do that. In the meantime, we are getting talked about Mordin, the various other factions in the area. And as you can see, at this point, the human looters are admitting to not being very good and stealing stuff from the Doctor, which is amusing because we're about to go and steal stuff from the Doctor as well. So anyway, we persuaded them that staying put and being good boys is probably better for their health than trying to take me on. So anyway, off we go, and let's go see if we're done. I think we might have a teeny little bit more fighting coming up. Is this the bit with the rocket troopers, or is this the bit with just a couple of guards over a fence? I can't remember. Anyway, a few more heat sinks there, and we're good to go. Now, I'm not sure if I'm actually getting stutter here that wasn't in the game, but as I'm recording my audio here, I am noticing a little bit of stutter that wasn't actually in the main gameplay, so hopefully that's just an artifact rather than a genuine problem. But anyway, I have found Mass Effect 2 plays nice and smoothly on my PC, even with screen capture, so that's a fairly well optimized game, so that's good stuff. Right, okay, yeah, we're definitely at the clinic now, so you get to interact with Mordin, who is a little bit ADHD, for want of a better word. He is a real chatterbox. Anyway, those mechs, trust me, if you're not careful, they will actually fight you. I have triggered them in some playthroughs into deciding to pick a fight with me, and most of the people out here, they don't really have much to say, so you are best probably going straight to the good Doctor and get him to give you some chitter chatter so you can actually go off and enjoy his little mission. So just having a talk to a few people, and there's some nice little kind of atmospheric effects there that you can see occasionally popping up when you get the angle just right. Get these lovely little dust particles in the air, and as you can see, I've just unlocked an upgrade there, so that's good. And again, on my screen when I was playing it, it didn't seem so twitchy, but I'm noticing on this replay the twitchiness of the mouse is getting a little bit out of control, so definitely gonna have to double check on the mouse settings, I think. Anyway, we are stealing a whole load of stuff before talking to Mordin, but once we've managed to do that, we can have a chat, and you get the option to interrupt him or just let him talk. I can't remember, I think I mostly let him talk. But yeah, really cool character. So Mordin Solus, interesting Solarian, and talks at a million miles an hour, and even can sing for you if you play your cards right. Anyway, his brain works at a very high speed, and if I remember correctly, these particular characters, they have a short lifespan relative to the other races in the galaxy, and so they mature quickly, they think quickly, and are as such very good scientists. And he has some interesting stuff to tell us a bit later on about the Krogans and the special forces and the collectors, and he even is aware of Cerberus. So yes, he is not a mere doctor, he has a little bit more about him than just medicine. And I really love the kind of close-ups where he gives you the kind of dagger eyes. Some good fun, although I think they do slightly overuse it. But great character, and he has some really cool stuff in Mass Effect 3. Probably the best bit of Mass Effect 3 is kind of dealing with Mordin and his story. So anyway, he is telling us about a plague and how he thinks the collectors are possibly behind it, and how maybe the vultures are somehow involved. Anyway, things are about to get complicated. As you can see, the air vents have suddenly been shut down, so it's going to be time for us to make a move to go deal with that particular problem. So he's given us a cure to inject into the aircon, so if we can get the aircon back up and running, then that would be great. And he's also asked us to keep an eye out for his assistant, who's foolishly run off. And we could choose to let him know about the sick Batarian. We can also choose to talk to him, or we can just run off and just start doing our mission. I believe when you do finish your mission, you do get a chance to interact with Mordin before going on the Normandy, but I've taken the safe route of trying to get as much dialogue out the way before we go off and start shooting a load of people up again. So here you go. He was in the Special Forces, and that might explain why he's missing one of his little antennae there. So yes, definitely a guy who's not just a scientist, but he can kick your butt whilst at it as well. So very, very good fun. So as you can see, here you go. Suspect vultures working for the collectors, distributing the plague. So we're off to find Daniel, his assistant. We're off to insert the cure back into the airflow and get the fans working to recirculate the environmental conditions before this whole area basically gets starved of oxygen. So anyway, advanced design, humans not affected. So it's a very interesting little story around the vulture being used by the collectors for some nefarious purposes, and apparently humans have vaster genetic variation and therefore are less vulnerable to manufactured plagues. So I guess the assumption is that by testing it on aliens first, you can get a proof of concept. You can then adapt it for humans if necessary. Or maybe the collectors have something special planned for the human race, and as such are picking on the aliens first. So yes, the plot does thicken a little bit. Anyway, swapping over my gun here, and apparently I picked up some renegade points. So yes, I seem to be doing a good job at being naughty on this playthrough. I have actually had a playthrough where I managed to get, I think it was 100% Paragon with no Renegade. Trust me, that is quite tricky. Anyway, we got a pretty epic fight coming up here with a load of Krogan, a couple of flamethrower guys, the Pyro units. They are very uncomfortable if they get too close to you. They can cause quite a lot of damage quite quickly. But yeah, this is a great fight, and unfortunately Jacob's sort of where I normally like to be, so I'm going to hang back a bit and let the AI try and take care of these guys. And as I say, I actually found Mass Effect 1 AI, to my mind, seemed more effective than Mass Effect 2, but yeah, occasionally Jacob is devastating with his biotics and then a shotgun. Anyway, I managed to get a little achievement there, so these are always good fun to get hold of as well. You know, things like Tactician and Headshot and Biotic Master and all these sort of things. And yeah, these pesky extra tough units, you know, if you want to singularity them, it tends not to work. You have to send in a warp first. I am rather unfortunately burning through a load of my thermal clips here. But you know, I have quite a few, so it's not a disaster. Anyway, another Krogan to deal with, and yeah, definitely having a little bit of trouble getting hold of him. Managed to strip away all of his extra special armor though, so in goes Biotic, which is irrelevant because we've managed to burnify one of the baddies. Yes, there you go, that's thermal ammo is one of my favourite ammos. I also quite like the icy one as well. I've forgotten what it's called now, but the one that freezes people, that's always good fun. Anyway, I think I've cleared most of the room, but I'm not sure if it's someone comes down from the stairs or I haven't actually cleared it as much as I thought, because when I have a shot at these containers, someone suddenly appears. I think it's Krogan. Yep, there he is, and he's not too happy with me. And he's also got a couple of buddies to back him up, if I remember correctly. It's not just the Krogan. Yeah, there's someone off on the left. Grab some Medigel, and then, yeah, Pyro unit, so don't want him getting too close. Now you can shoot out their backpacks, which make them catch fire and explode. So there are some nice little tactical shooting elements, if you so wish. So there's a load of people at the top of the stairs here. Need to take care of them. Is it 3 or 4 guys? But yeah, you have great fun when you get to Mordin, fighting your way through to the air conditioning units. And as I say, probably one of the better loyalty or recruitment missions going. Anyway, let's hack this terminal here. Get ourselves a couple of credits just to help ease our probe purchases. And yeah, watch out for those little dead ends. They can be very awkward and nasty if you get yourself stuck in those by mistake. Right, I think it's time for the stairs. So up the stairs and some nice little epic corridor fighting with lots of rockets, if I remember correctly. So another hacking section. And yeah, I do quite like these mini games just for breaking things up a bit. I'm not sure they're particularly great to watch, but as you can see there, 5,000 credits, not bad for a couple of seconds of work. So always worthwhile having a go with those. Oh yes, this is a fun little bit up here where some guys are harassing the doctor's assistant. So do not go through that door, no, come through this one, and you got the Batarians beating up Daniel, threatening to kill him. And again, you've got a choice of whether you want to be Paragon or Renegade here. You can try and talk them down, you can just kill them, you can talk them down and then kill them. So it's a very interesting little bit of interaction coming up. And here you go, so no one needs to die or I'm going to kill you all and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, if you're playing Renegade, really good fun options to be a real douchebag. But if you're being a Paragon, as I say, unfortunately you will be tempted at times by some of the red rather than blue options. Anyway, we've managed to talk these guys down, and rather interestingly, they now say, well, are you going to let us live or not? And it's up to you to choose. And obviously if you let them go, as you can see, they are a little bit surprised. Anyway, Daniel's very thankful, and we need to get him back to Mordin to help out with all the patients. And I think there's a couple of bits you can loot in this room, not too much. And then it's off to more shooting and killing, murder, death. So yeah, nice little bit there. I owe you, well, everything. I like that. Nice little bit of dialogue. And I have to say again, Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 2, the acting and the lip syncing seems to be really, really good and much better than, dare I say it, the more modern versions of the game. So Mass Effect Andromeda just not in quite the same class as Mass Effect 2, it would appear, which is very sad because some of the graphics in Andromeda are just absolutely mind-blowingly amazing. The planetary environments. I have heard fairly good things about the multiplayer, although sometimes I believe some of the server issues can be problematic, and they've obviously built on some of the success of Mass Effect 3. Right, yes, this bit here, you've got to be very careful. There's a load of guys with rockets, and if you're not careful, they can rip you a new one very, very quickly. Anyway, I seem to be having a bit of problem with my cover system here, and very annoyingly I'm trying to get singularity on these rocket guys so they can't shoot at us. And you've got to watch out here. We got two guys, if I remember correctly, shooting rockets at us. Very easy to die if you're not careful. And for some reason I wasn't able to curve my biotic power there. I obviously didn't have target lock quite in place. There obviously is, once you get past these rocket guys, there's a whole host of guys come streaming out of a little door just down to the left there in the environmental unit. And then when you get into the environmental unit, there's a whole load of guys to try and kill in there as well. So if you like the run and gun and the cover shoot mechanics and stuff, this is a really, really fun mission. As I say, great fun in Mass Effect 2. They definitely did improve, I guess, some of the shooting elements, but I still would lean towards Mass Effect 1 personally. Anyway, do we get any Krogans here? I think we don't in this section. I think they are in the next bit when we actually get into the environmental control center. But yeah, if you're really, really careful with your heavy weapons, you can, for example, pop the odd shot in as that door opens and take out a load of guys to make your life a bit easier. But you are better off saving your heavy weapons for when you really, really need it. The cover that these guys have is a little bit of a pain, making it a little bit harder to take them out. But yeah, if you can get your loop on your biotics or get a nice angled shot, you can really, really take these guys out without too much risk to yourself. Zaid's shooting at someone, so there's obviously someone still down there. So if we move, hopefully we can get him to lock on, and there you go. And there's one more guy hiding behind the barrier, which I couldn't quite loop my shot round to. A little bit annoying. And yeah, as it says there, you can't use a power when it's already on cooldown. So yeah, you've got to be a little bit careful with your use of your biotic powers, because if you use it at the wrong time when you really need it, it's on cooldown, and then you're a bit stuck. Anyway, area cleared. Time to get into the lovely air conditioning area. And as I say, this is just fantastic fun, this mission, and lots of explosive crates to shoot, lots of cover, lots of sniping and biotic use. You know, pretty much everything's going on this mission, so really enjoy playing this one. And yeah, for some reason the door there seems to be giving me grief. I think this is where we almost get ambushed, yeah, and managed to get a guy to like fall over the crate, which is great fun. And another pesky Krogan with his armor to deal with. So yeah, there you go, managed to biotic a guy and shoot him, so he's like dangling over the crate. And when we go past him, he's slumps down, if I remember correctly. So yeah, nice little animation here and there. So yeah, if you just steam in here, you could get yourself in trouble, but thankfully, if I remember correctly, there is a little cutscene where the Vulture, who I believe we spoke to earlier, tells us we're not welcome. Here it is, so you know, come here, we shut machines, break fans. Just looks fabulous with this high-res texture. I really like this scene. And basically the collectors have done a deal with the Vulture to get them working for them and being immune to the plague. Yeah, they're quite happy to try and infect everyone. Unfortunately, although he sounds like a really cool character, we take him out pretty instantly. What we do have a little bit of a problem with is this rocket trooper at the back here, who takes a little bit longer to take out than maybe he should. And we've also got a pyro guy, but yeah, I think they didn't provide too much of a threat to us, so we'll be able to kind of get the environmental controls ready to go back online quite easily. But we're going to have to fight our way to the actual fans to disperse the cure. So after here, got the cure locked in, so we need the fans going, and I think there's 2 rocket guys up high here, and I'm gonna have to swap to my pistol because I find the submachine gun a little bit too random. So yeah, swap to my pistol. Unfortunately I didn't, so gonna have to try that again. Still got the submachine gun, it seems. So watch out for that. The submachine gun and the pistols are very similar looking. So yeah, there you go. Finally managed to swap to the pistol. Slightly more accurate, although a bit of a recoil on it, I have to say. So you've got a choice. You can either go down to the left or down to the right. I don't think it actually matters too much which direction you go first, but you now have to fight your way not only to the fans but back from the fans as well. Now I have had the odd glitch here on trying to go into cover where I've suddenly floated 16 foot up in the air, and the only way to deal with that was to kind of either wait and hopefully not die, or quit the game and reload from a save. But that's really about the only major bug I've encountered so far in this playthrough. This is the second time I'm playing this mission, because the first time I played it I just got stuck to the scenery at that corner there and couldn't do anything, which was rather unfortunate. Anyway, we're here with the west fan array, so now we need to get to the, I guess, east fan array, and as we're coming back we have to fight our way through a load of douchebags, including another Krogan and some rockets. And I think a guy turns around the corner straight into my pistol in a second. So yeah, took him down nicely. And I have to say that if you look closely at these guys, they do have red glowing eyes, which would imply that possibly they've had some collector interference, where maybe they've got some electronic augmentation. Really cool atmospheric effects with the fans up and running again. and depending on your graphics card, I guess that could look very pretty, but that's the expense of frame rate. And here you go, 2 rocket guys being absolute pains in the butts. I think you can actually ignore them though if you're lucky, because once you get into the other fan array, it pretty much triggers the end of this phase of the game and takes you back to Mordin. Now if you've got the right biotic powered up and you can get it timed just right, that door at the back there opens and you can pop in a little singularity and it really pins the units back down there, although as you can see some of them do have armor which you're going to have to strip first. And I am enjoying playing with the pistol with this character. I seem to be doing reasonably well with it, although a couple of times my aim has been woefully off target. But I think we're pretty much done. I think there's just 1 guy left, maybe 2. So yeah, need to watch out a little bit, don't want to get killed, so pop out, throw a warp effect, and yeah, he's down. So we are pretty much done here. So through the door, take a right, inject the power, and done. Now will I get this medi-gel? No, wasn't quick enough. So there you go, that is the Mordin mission basically over and done with. So we will now jump back to the surgery, have a little bit more conversation, and Mordin will join us on the ship. So we will have a couple of chats with him, and then we're ready to fly off around the galaxy, exploring things, probing things, recruiting other crew members, looking into other sites. And as I say, can't remember whether I've recorded it for this session or whether it be in the next one, but anyway, if I have recorded it we will get to see that, otherwise it will be in the next video. So Mordin here makes it quite clear that whilst he's mostly honourable, he is prepared to get things done. He is prepared to say the end justifies the means. So a lot of the Mass Effect crew 2 are sort of very grey characters. They're not kind of your black and white goody baddie. They are very grey morally. They are prepared to do stuff. Anyway, at this point you can choose to stay or leave. I pick leave, so we will meet him on the Normandy. And yeah, if you choose to stay, I believe it gives you a chance to pick up some items that maybe you didn't the first time through the mission. And I think that's when I maybe got in trouble with some robots last time. I think I tried to steal something and they weren't happy with it. I can't remember now. It's been quite a while since I've had a run-in with Mordin's robots. Anyway, we're back on the Normandy, so we have a little debrief. Mordin will be shown to his room, and you get a chance to interact with some crew. And you get some very nice little chat here where Mordin becomes aware of Edie and Cerberus, and we get the pacing up and down scene with Jacob, which is rather unfortunate. Slightly over animated. I wish I just stayed still and waved their arms around a bit more. That would look better, I think, than pacing up and down like caged tigers. But yeah, again, chance to say I like Cerberus, I don't like Cerberus. So really nice little kind of bits covering up for that bad beginning for me where I couldn't believe they had us working for Cerberus. Anyway, Mordin, very pragmatic. He is prepared to work with Cerberus, possibly because it's a way of actually spying on them and feeding stuff back to his government, because as we will discover, although he's retired from the Special Forces, he is still fairly heavily connected to his government and the agency. So I believe here I let him chat away for quite a while without interrupting him, and yeah, you can't help but play with things and check things out. But yeah, he is a really cool character because he gives you some nice upgrades, and I've had quite a bit of fun taking him on missions as well. If I remember correctly, he's a bit of a fan of the shotgun, I want to say. But yeah, Mordin and Garrus, or Mordin and a biotic, is good fun. And here you go. I love this, the way he's looking around like, what the hell? What the AI? What's going on? Fantastic combination of voice acting and animation, and kind of camera angles. Really like this bit. So you can choose to kind of be fairly generous with what you tell Mordin, or kind of tell him to shut up a bit. I kind of quite like letting him vent and go on, because he's a fascinating little character. Also, I quite like his weird suit as well. I mean, that's some crazy geometry there. Anyway, got a little bit of Paragon, but a little bit of Renegade as well. So again, not doing very good at maintaining 100% Paragon, but there you go. So I've chosen to have a little bit of a chat with Jacob, and then I don't know, do I go to the map room before going to Mordin? We'll find out, no doubt. But yeah, I'm hoping you're enjoying this playthrough. I'm noticing, as I say, the views are quite low, possibly because this is an older video game, but it is a very well regarded Mass Effect game, and for many people it's regarded as the best in the trilogy. I disagree. As I say, multiple times I've gone on about Mass Effect 1 being the best, but Mass Effect 2, as I say, once you get past that beginning sequence, I did enjoy it, even though it's sort of not really progressing the story of Mass Effect. It's actually an enjoyable series of quests, and some really cool situations as well. Some of the missions, as I say, really nice ingenuity, shall we say it, putting you into a morally difficult position and having to make a hard call to either do A or B, and you don't really want to do either, because you know if you do A you're going to miss out on something, but if you do B, that's just really horrible. So that's going to be fun to show you in the Zaid mission, because that's definitely a sensible choice versus the one you need to do for the sake of the mission. So anyway, that will become clear, because that's pretty much what we're going to be doing next. So having a look at some of the upgrades. Now, with some of these upgrades, it does depend on you doing planetary scanning, because some upgrades are money, some upgrades are resources, and the way you're going to build up your resources is via doing planetary scanning. So little chat with Mordin here, and we'll get to find out a little bit about his background. And I apologise if I'm yawning. Again, it's quite late here, kind of end of the day, recording audio over gameplay I captured earlier, having got back from work. So yeah, Mordin, really cool guy, used to work in kind of special ops, and he's now retired, but still in contact, as I mentioned earlier, with the government. We can also talk to him about, does he like working for Cerberus, does he like the Normandy, has he got any upgrades? So yeah, very useful character to grab, and I can see why he's recommended as one of the first ones, because he's also a fun character, and you can have some really interesting chats with him, and the singing scene is well worth a watch. So if you don't manage to find it yourself on your playthrough, you can always look for it on YouTube. So yes, recon analysis, wet work, not your average scientist at all. So he's basically saying he's sort of the Solarian equivalent to a Spectre, which is very interesting. And he also knows, was it Captain Kiray, is it? The Hold the Line gentleman from Mass Effect 1. And I believe, do we get a quote for it coming up fairly shortly, or have I missed it? Yeah, here you go. Young captain named Kiray. Yeah. Hold the line. So yeah, very amusing, and I believe you also get some fun and games with that in Mass Effect 3 as well, so a nice little nod. So as I say, although I've whinged about how they progress the story between 1, 2 and 3, they did at least make an effort every now and then to slip things in. Anyway, are we done with Mordin? I can't remember. I think there are a couple of other chats. No, we're done. Okay. So back we go to the map room, and do we go downstairs or do we go off and do stuff? We'll find out. As I say, I keep trying to remember what I did earlier to try and cover that off before we actually get to the footage. Anyway, we get a chance to have a chat with Kelly, and a little bit of flirting with her, maybe make her a bit of a love interest. So was I too flirty? And you're like, no, I liked it. And she's like, oh, great. I think she also, does she talk about Garrus now? And again, you get another chance to flirt with her. Maybe that comes up later. We'll see. Now, Kelly's an interesting character. As I say, she's sort of a bit of an embedded spy for Cerberus, but she seems to be, a relatively pleasant face to Cerberus. I'm trying to work out whether she's actually a nice guy or not. Nice guy, nice girl or not. Anyway, Joker is always worth a visit, although again some of his dialogue choices can be a bit of a pain. He just repeats himself a bit too much on occasion. Another chance to hear some crew gossip as well, which is a nice little touch. I do like that, really giving you an idea of the desperation that the humans are facing, with Connolly's being nabbed in the background. Okay, so we get another chance for Edie and Joker to interact. Joker's trying to tweak things, get things going, and Edie's trying to remind him of, there's certain procedures and all this. And I've gone with you can always mute it if you like. And Joker definitely starts off with a slightly antagonistic attitude towards Edie, but he does warm to her a little bit as the game progresses. And similarly, Edie kind of sort of like, I'm not sure about Joker, he's not doing things by the book, and gets to warm to Joker. And I love the way Joker talks about, you should ask a people person, or it's my opinion, don't need to spread it around and stuff like that. So it's some great dialogue, but the biggest problem is it gets repeated a little bit too much on occasion. But always worth a visit up to the cockpit to get a bit of Joker fun. And again, I'm not sure, did I ask this already about our old crew? I'm pretty sure I did, but there you go. I think he talks about Presley, does he? Yeah, Presley there. And we get to see a little bit of Presley later if we go visit the Normandy crash site, which I will be doing. And unfortunately that is a little bit of DLC, so I don't think it's DLC you desperately need, to be honest, but it's a nice little touch anyway. So what's Edie got to say for herself? Has she got anything particularly new? Now, I quite like this looking through Edie at Shepard. It's a kind of nice lighting effect going on there. And it's rather amusing that on a couple of angles the dots of Edie's sphere seem to line up perfectly with his eyes, giving you a slightly weird look to Shepard. Anyway, little chance to open up about Cerberus and the AI and the blocks and all that good juicy gossip that we are not able to get out of Edie just yet because she is all locked down. Elusive Man has installed stuff which he doesn't fully trust us with getting all of the information out of. So back to the elevator and have a chat with Edie and tell us about this area, but I don't think it tells us anything particularly interesting, so we will ignore the chitter chatter and pop down to one of the lower decks. And we get a chance to speak to either Garrus, the Doctor, or Miranda. So go off and have a chat to them. And make sure we are unlocking all the bits and pieces so we can get the loyalty missions and any extra little side missions. And it's very important, as I think, in Mass Effect 2 to try and get a lot of the side missions done, so you don't accidentally risk being locked out of doing missions, because you do get to a certain point in the game where you've got to kind of see through the main story and you can't then go off and do all the side missions. So again, if that's something that's important to you, you want to do 100% of everything, then make sure you check what the trigger mission is that locks you into the kind of the end run, so to speak. But yeah, Garrus, very cool dude. He's not fully calibrating guns just yet. He will be shortly, I'm sure. And yeah, you will find a lot of your interaction with Garrus. He is calibrating his guns, making sure they're all ready to go when we need them. And it's definitely worth investing your time in the upgrades, particularly to the cannons and the shields and stuff like that, because if you don't, you might find the final mission goes badly for you. Anyway, the Doctor has finally come round after the brandy, so gets a nice little chat with her. But I've got a feeling once you have this chat, the interaction with her becomes a little bit more constrained, a little bit more difficult. I do remember being a little bit disappointed that they didn't make, you know, more dialogue options for the good Doctor. Great fun character and a carryover from the first game. But yeah, when you do have your interactions, they are good fun. So I really enjoyed the brandy scene with her, where she obviously gets very drunk and reminisces about old times. Anyway, so a little bit more Paragon points make up for all this horrible renegade stuff I've been picking up, and I believe that's the machine that will allow you to heal your facial scars if you want. So for some reason not quite able to do that yet. It's possibly because I need to install an upgrade first. I will have to double check at some stage. And I was looking for I think Zaid, but I believe he's downstairs, not on this level. So anyway, whilst I'm here, let's get a bit more crew gossip and have a look into the power core there. But yes, if you want to, you can waste a lot of time running around corridors on the Normandy and interacting with your crew, and I think it's well worth doing because it does occasionally unlock some nice little juicy extras. So down in engineering, we're going to have Zaid, and he's got quite an interesting room where you can actually eject waste into space, so you'll see me do that a couple of times. And he's also got a couple of models and an old gun. And you've also got the Cerberus surveillance unit, which is very, very interesting. So yeah, I guess this is something the Elusive Man didn't really want to share with me. So again, Cerberus, right bunch of whatsits. Anyway, over on the left is Zaid and the trash recycling unit. And you can choose to interact with various objects around the room, and you'll get a nice little story from Zaid. And I say he's a pretty good character, but I think he's one of the weaker ones from the game. So here you go. Press to make a cube drop down. It will pop out that window there. So you press the button, and if you get in the right position, you'll see all the bits blow out into space. So push the button, little metal cube drops down. There it is, and a little bit of space debris. Oh, there you go. Anyway, looks like Zaid's finished talking, so let's interact with this Krogan helmet, find out about that. And it's pretty obvious Zaid is a character who's been around for a while, and he's seen some stuff. And when you get on this loyalty mission, you will come to realise he has been around for quite a while, and he's not necessarily a particularly nice person, but he's not as bad as the person he's trying to hunt down as part of his loyalty mission. Now, one thing I did find a little bit weird about interacting with Zaid, he does like walking backwards and forwards every now and then. So you go up to talk to him and he'll suddenly just like walk into you, which is a little bit odd and awkward on the animation front. But yeah, you know, nice little incidental animations there with Shepard stretching out and, you know, rotating his shoulder and everything. So you can see a lot of love has gone into this game with the combination of the art, the character models, the music, the voice acting, the script, the actual mission structures. So to my mind, this is probably the peak of BioWare, because it did really good stuff in Knights of the Old Republic, fantastic work with Dragon Age Origins and Mass Effect 1, but Dragon Age 2 I wasn't that impressed by, and Mass Effect 2, as I've mentioned, was very, very good, but had problems of its own, and to my mind was the start of the slide for BioWare. And of course a lot of people have pointed the finger at EA on this. I'm sure history will eventually make a decision on exactly when things went wrong and who was to blame, but of course BioWare have produced some pretty good games since Mass Effect 2, and a lot of people are very happy with Mass Effect 3. I'm not one of those people. Anyway, let's get ourselves out of here and back to the game.